The cold morning air clung to the streets of Haleworth, a small but bustling English town. Winter fog curled like lazy smoke between the rooftops, and the train station was already alive with the chatter of wealthy commuters. Men in sharp wool coats held leather briefcases, women in fine furs adjusted their silk scarves, their perfume cutting through the smell of coal and steel. Standing at the far end of the platform, Elijah Turner tightened his grip on his daughter Amara's hand. She was only 8, her knitted hat pulled down over her braids, eyes wide as she clutched a tattered school satchel. Their clothes were clean but worn thin, the fabric faded from years of careful washing. They weren't from this part of town. Elijah had been offered a temporary cleaning job in Haleworth's Grand Library, a chance he couldn't afford to refuse. To get there on time, he needed to take the early first-class commuter train, a carriage normally reserved for the town's wealthy. When the train arrived, steam hissing, Elijah led Amara toward the last carriage. The seats were almost full. Just one empty spot, beside an elderly white woman in a fur coat, Mrs. Edith Holloway, sat like an island in a sea of polished shoes and judgmental eyes. The moment Elijah stepped inside, the carriage grew quieter. Conversations dipped, gazes flicked toward him and Amara, lingering too long. Mrs. Holloway's eyes narrowed. "Those seats are taken," she said sharply, though the one beside her was clearly empty. Elijah hesitated. "Ma'am, I only ask for the little one to sit." "I said, taken," she cut in, clutching her handbag closer. From across the aisle, a younger man in a navy suit muttered, "Second class is at the back." Others smirked, not bothering to hide it. Amara's fingers tightened around her father's. She whispered, "Daddy, we can stand." They moved toward the door, but a loud voice stopped them. "That seat's not taken." Everyone turned. The speaker was Jonathan Reeves, a middle-aged factory owner whose family name was stitched into half the town's history. He stood up, glaring at Mrs. Holloway. "In fact, I insist they sit." Reluctantly, Mrs. Holloway shifted. Elijah thanked him softly and sat Amara down, perching on the edge beside her. But the whispers began almost immediately. "They don't belong here. Bet they can't even afford the ticket. Probably here to pick pockets." Amara stared out the window, pretending not to hear, but her father saw the way her shoulders hunched. Halfway to Haleworth, the train jolted to a sudden stop. A conductor entered, flanked by 2 uniformed railway guards. "Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a report of a missing gold pocket watch," the conductor announced. "We need to check everyone's belongings." The guards began moving through the carriage. Elijah felt a chill settle in his chest. When they reached Mrs. Holloway, she stood and pointed directly at him. "I saw him moving near the luggage rack." "Check him first." Gasps rippled through the carriage. Elijah's jaw tightened. "You didn't see any such thing, ma'am." But the guard was already holding out his hand. "Sir, your bag, please." Amara gripped his coat. "Daddy." "It's all right, sweetheart." They opened the bag. Inside were only a lunch wrapped in cloth, a second-hand copy of Great Expectations, and Amara's school books. "No watch." The guard moved on, but the damage was done. Mrs. Holloway sniffed and muttered, "Doesn't mean he didn't hide it." Others avoided Elijah's eyes, the air thick with unspoken accusation. Then, near the front of the carriage, a voice called out, "Found it." It was the conductor, holding up the gleaming pocket watch. It slipped between the cushions under Mr. Henderson's seat. All heads turned toward the young man in the navy suit, the same one who'd told Elijah to sit in second class. His face flushed crimson. The train fell silent. Mrs. Holloway looked away, suddenly fascinated by her gloves. Elijah stood slowly, his voice calm but carrying. I've worked all my life to teach my daughter that we are worth as much as anyone, no more, no less. But this morning, before she even opened her school book, she learned a harder lesson, that some people will see only what they want to see, and often, it's not the truth. He looked down at Amara, then back at the passengers. We can't change the color of our skin, or the size of our purse. But we can choose whether we see with eyes clouded by hate, or with the clear sight of kindness. Without waiting for a response, Elijah took Amara's hand and walked to the next carriage. Jonathan Reeves quietly followed, leaving a stunned silence behind. As the train pulled into Haleworth, the morning sun cut through the fog, glinting off the windows, as if the day itself refused to stay clouded.